Hello guys, it's Tamara. I'm back with another video. We are going to talk today about the 7 signs that you have not healed from your trauma. Thank you so much for being with me today. For those of you who are subscribed, welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who are not subscribed, I encourage you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button so then that way you can stick around with us as we talk about trauma. We're going to be talking about trauma for the next 4 weeks, okay? Last week, we talked a lot about multiple personality disorder or dissociative identity disorder. We talked a little bit about trauma. We talked a little bit about treatment. So during this 4-week time, which is going to be a 4-week series on trauma, we're going to look at different angles of trauma. And I'm going to post a video up here if you missed it, where I give you a list of all the trauma topics that we're going to be talking about. So stick around. So the benefits for you today in this video is that you're going to learn about the 7 clinical signs that you have not healed from your trauma and that you're most likely still struggling, and either you need a new therapist or you need medication or you need medication with a new therapist. Whatever that is, I think that these are sure signs that you are struggling. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. So a lot of people struggle in counseling. It's not easy. And if you have ever had counseling yourself, you're probably well aware of the fact that it really does make you vulnerable. I'm actually going to post the video up here about vulnerability and learning to kind of open yourself up to therapy. I'm sure you have a wall up. I'm sure you're afraid. And it is not easy to be vulnerable in front of somebody that you don't know. Now, there are some really good therapists who build bonds with their clients immediately. The clients feel comfortable, or the patients, whatever you're referred to as by your therapist. You know, some therapists are really good at fostering a good emotional bond. And so helping that individual become more vulnerable and open to counseling really isn't a problem. But there are some clients, patients who struggle, and they're going to struggle for a while. So I'm going to go over some of those things with you. I'm going to go over why counseling is difficult, and this is more specifically geared towards trauma victims or individuals who have struggled with trauma. And I want you to kind of think of these 7 things and ask yourself, am I struggling in this way? And if so, do I need to change my therapist? Do I need to get medication? Do I need to let go of grudges and resentment and anger and pain? Just where do I need to be? All right. So the first sign that you are struggling with your trauma history is, and I think this is the number 1 sign, that you are struggling and continuing to struggle with historical data. You have not moved from the past into the present. You are still living in the past. And there's a saying that says you cannot look forward looking in the rearview mirror. And I think for a lot of us, we think that we're moving forward, we think that we're growing, we think that we're dealing with life at a healthy level, when in all actuality we're not. You know, we're just getting by, or we are coping to the best of our ability, and sometimes that is not good, right? We're coping with alcohol addiction, or we are self-medicating in other inappropriate ways, right? Getting high and being promiscuous and that kind of thing. So you may be living, but you may be living and surviving, but are you really living your best life? And if you're not, then that's a problem, right? Because again, you're trying to go forward and you're looking in the rearview mirror. You're back here somewhere, still looking at the trauma and the pain. And that's how you know that you're still struggling, right? You haven't healed yet. The next one is conceptualizing change as impossible or frightening. When you have made it up in your mind that change is impossible or that it is frightening, and you're not willing to take that step or that baby step to get to the next step and the next step, then you are not healed yet, right? I think you can only begin to heal once you recognize your vulnerabilities, once you open yourself up to counseling, you open yourself up to growth, right? Counseling is not for everybody, so I don't want to send the message that you can't do this process unless you're in counseling. That is incorrect. But what I mean by that is open yourself up to a possible therapist, or take another chance. You might find the best therapist, you know, this next chance. Or, you know, open yourself up in some way to look ahead in a healthy fashion, right? If you are still stuck saying, I'm not willing to explore that, I think it's frightening, I don't even want to deal with it, don't talk to me, you are not healed yet. You're still stuck. All right. Seeking emotional support where it cannot be found. Okay. An example of this would be the transference or countertransference often experienced in psychotherapy, where the therapist begins to see the client, a person from their history, like an ex-spouse or an ex, something girlfriend. Transference is when the client begins to personalize the therapy in a way that's unhealthy, right? They want to marry you. You remind them of their cousin or their dad or their mom, right? So one way, I think, to determine just how much you're struggling with your traumatic history is to look at the fact that you might be seeking emotional support, love, affection from the wrong people. And if that's the case, you're not quite healed yet. All right. Clinging to toxic people. So looking for people who 1 minute they love you and care about you and the next minute they're ready to hurt you, right? Or running into the arms of guys or men who are not ready to commit to you, right? So running to toxic people over and over and over because in some way they appealed to you or they appealed to your needs. But again, you're not healed yet if you are clinging onto unhealthy and self-destructive relationships, okay? Looking for love in all the wrong places. What I mean by this one is being promiscuous, and looking at relationships that you don't have access to. So looking at married men, right? Because you just like the chase, or you like the energy that comes from that, right? Dating so many guys at the same time and not letting them know that you're dating various guys, right? So looking for love and affection and power and control in other relationships, that's a sure sign that you're not healed yet, all right? Struggling in therapy, coming to therapy feeling like there's nothing to talk about, feeling like you are just kind of sitting and having a conversation and there's no real value, that is stuck, right? That's what we clinicians call being stuck in counseling. And a lot of times the therapist can take the responsibility of helping to push things forward. But if you're feeling stuck, I encourage you to say to your therapist, for example, I'm stuck and I don't know where to go from here. And your therapist, if they are trained, if they are trauma informed, they will know exactly what to do. But being stuck and stagnant in therapy is a sign that you have not healed. And last but not least, incorrect expectations. If you go to therapy or if you're trying to get through daily life with overly high expectations of yourself and other people and people around you, then you're not healed yet because your expectations are very unrealistic, right? If you have overly high expectations or incorrect expectations, you most likely aren't healed yet. You haven't put two and two together that life is a particular way and things are not going to turn out the way that you want them to. Things are not going to turn out the way that I want them to either. So I apologize, guys, for that noise. But having these incorrect expectations can send you backwards because you're going to be disappointed. Thank you so much, guys, for being with me today in this video. I encourage you to give it a thumbs up if it was helpful to you. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I welcome you to my channel. We're going to continue to talk about these things. Stay tuned for the next video. I'm going to give us a bonus video on Wednesday. We're going to tackle some other interesting topics, and then we're going to close out our week on Fridays. I look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.